Hello, and welcome to Freya's tropical garden. Summer has finally arrived and the weather is gorgeous. Here's what we got coming up for you on today's episode. There is part 4 of my series on the Eden Project, and I take a look at 5 tropical gardens you can visit on the Isle of Wight. But first, here's what's been happening in my garden since last time. Although there are still plenty of plants to be dug up in my garden, it really is starting to look a lot barer now with these patches of soil. And I'm still finding it very difficult looking out on my garden and thinking about what was. However, one thing I'm finding interesting is looking at the bare patches of soil and seeing just how many plants are still coming through. Seedlings and bits of rhizome that have been missed. And by taking my time over this project and not rushing into putting grass seed down, I'm actually finding I'm able to dig up a lot more plants, like this Tradescantia, which is the second one to have survived since I left them out over winter last year. It's a stunning plant, but I really wasn't expecting it to survive winter. You may recall in the last episode that I showed you this piece of Brugmansia which I found under the soil level. I thought that it had died when it didn't come back last spring. And now yet another plant that didn't come back last year has started to grow. If you watched my videos last year, you'll remember me showing you that my pink cordyline leaves had died back, but the stem was still alive, and I was hoping it would regrow. But it didn't until now. And as you can see, the leaves on the Brugmansia are really coming along well, although they did get a bit slug-eaten, which has set back the growth a bit, but now the leaves are starting to re-emerge, and I can't wait to have this plant back. So while I'm on the topic of things coming back from the dead, I want to show you my dead table. This is a table where I put any pot where things haven't regrown over winter or bulbs that haven't emerged. Even if I know the plant is dead, it goes on the dead table and I wait it out. And as you can see, this aloe, which was previously brown and I didn't think was going to make it, has come back. And this bulb that didn't grow and hadn't even got a started growing, and now I've been able to identify it as my Amaryllis belladonna. Meanwhile, I found this growing on the dead table and I don't even know what that is. I dug up my Farfugium japonicum thinking it was dead because the slugs had eaten the inside of the rhizome. But once potted up, it got it away from the area where the slugs were and it started growing really nicely now. And there are a few incidences like this where plants are actually doing better in the pots away from the slugs. I've also discovered several ferns that I didn't even think I still had. I planted the fernery a couple of years ago and only a couple of them really took off. Mostly I ended up battling the bracken that was growing in the area. But I think a combination of the soil not being damp enough and the slugs that were in the area just made it really difficult for these ferns to grow. So hopefully now they're in pots, I can start encouraging some better growth from them. One of my Musella lasiacarpa bananas, however, hasn't done so well. It wasn't sending a new leaf up, so I cut the top off and found that it had rotted all the way through, probably due to the rain, but it might throw up some pups. You may remember me buying this cordyline last year, and when I dug it up, unfortunately it snapped. But, however, it is growing both from the top and a side shoot as well. At the moment, both my larger cordylines still look good. However, they really don't like being dug up, and it could be months before I find out if they've survived. Last episode, I showed you that my Paulonia was starting to send out some new shoots. This was coppiced, and then the new shoot snapped off when it was dug up. But Paulonia is a fast-growing tree, and this is how they were looking 2 weeks ago, and now they're even more bushy and lush, and I can't wait to see how this does in a pot. I was really worried that my Echium would die after being dug up because they don't like their roots being disturbed. However, mine is still doing well. But my Miscanthus really sulked when I dug it up and is only now starting to produce some new leaves. But this too will make a full recovery. In fact, there are only 2 plants that I've dug up that I'm really worried about at the moment. One is my Tetrapanax, as the stem is feeling a little bit soft, so I suspect at the very least I've lost some height. However, I'm also keeping an eye on the base of the plant, as there's a good chance it will throw up a few pups. And the other plant I'm worried about is my olive tree. Despite cutting off loads of branches to reduce transplant shock, and moving it to a sheltered, shady position, the leaves have all turned brown now. However, the wood is still alive, so I am hoping with a bit more time it will regrow new leaves. As I mentioned earlier, don't give up on plants too soon because they can surprise you. Now I've finally got round to sorting out my plants, working out which plants I'm going to be keeping and which ones I'm going to be selling, and all the plants that are for sale are now on my patio, and all the plants that I'm keeping are on my decking. This also provides a useful screen when I'm sitting on the decking so I don't have to look out over the bare patches of soil. Now this pot came out of my grow tent in spring without a label, and now that the leaves are starting to emerge, I'm hoping it's my Xanthosoma sagittifolium. But I think the young leaves look a bit different. I have quite a few plants in flower at the moment, and I absolutely love this Alstroemeria, which is the only plant I bought since finding out we have to move house. And I can tell you, not buying plants is very, very difficult. My Courtleia started flowering, but was hidden behind something else, so I missed the flower when it was at its best, but it will produce more. This stunning flower makes it my favourite variety of ginger. And I've got plenty of beautiful red flowers on my Begonia Santa Cruz, as well as the Starshine Bronze Papaya, which I bought last year. And digging up my plants has actually worked quite nicely for this Abutilon. As it's still quite a small plant and the flowers hang downwards, it gives me the opportunity to see underneath. This hibiscus was in our garden when we first moved into the property 10 years ago. So I don't know the variety, but it will be a form of Hibiscus syriacus. Now, if you were watching my videos last year, you might remember this amaryllis which I dug up and potted up ready for it to flower over Christmas. However, I didn't give it a period of cold and it didn't flower until now. So it does seem a bit strange having an amaryllis flowering in summer, but it looks stunning. And my larger varieties of lily have been flowering. This Lilium regale hasn't been put off by the fact that I've been digging it up. And I absolutely love these stunning white to pink flowers. While with my tower lilies, I left them growing in situ to give them time to flower before digging them up. But I will need to make sure I dig up the bulbs before they die back to ground level because I don't want to lose them. And the daylilies are also flowering. Hemeracalis fulva is absolutely gorgeous with these vibrant orange flowers. While the tropical surprise is a new one for me this year, grown from bulbs I bought before I found out I'd be moving. Which is also the case with this Spigelia, and I absolutely love these dainty flowers that are so vibrantly coloured. My Dahlia Twining Smarty has come back from last year. Although this flower doesn't have any pink petals, it will have some at some point. I left my Crocosmia lucifer in the ground to make sure that the flowers formed, because I was a bit worried with the other varieties that I dug up that it would set them back, and that potentially they might not flower this year. However, that isn't the case, and Crocosmia Susanna, as well as my self-seeded variety, are both producing flowers anyway. My Canna Patterns is continuing to produce these beautiful, dainty red and yellow flowers. And my pink variety of Canna is the first one flowering of the varieties that produce larger flowers, although I suspect the ones that I've potted up will flower later than usual. These beautiful gladioli were again amongst the bulbs that I bought earlier in the year. And these are the first ones flowering, although I have dug up some from last year and hopefully they will flower later as well. The vibrant colour has now returned to the foliage of my Albizia Summer Chocolate, and this provides a beautiful contrast to the standard variety of Albizia julibrisson. And both trees have coped well with being dug up, although they didn't have leaves at the time, which helps. You may remember last spring I germinated my first Manihot Grahami after 11 months of waiting for the seed to germinate. And now, after a year and a half of carefully keeping it in the propagator under a grow light, it's finally able to come outside, where it's now strong enough to cope with full sun and should also be hardy, although I won't test that this year. And my new variety of voodoo lily has also started growing after being in a propagator since spring, and actually started growing once I took it out of the propagator. My other variety of Amorphophallus did snap in the wind, but it's regrowing a new leaf now, so it's recovering well. Both varieties of Sauromatum voodoo lily also have good foliage growth at the moment. I absolutely love the unusual shape of these leaves. While the Dracunculus vulgaris has died back to ground level now, I've made sure that it's potted up and labelled so that I don't lose it for next year. Now my pond is one project that I never actually got to complete in my garden. Although I bought some plants for it, I never got to finish laying the stones or making the waterfall. And the still water just ended up attracting mosquito larvae. I did manage to get a frog that visited regularly, however. And despite the fact I've just left these plants to do their own thing, they all came back after winter and they're growing really well. But now I have to get rid of my pond and I have to move everything into a trough so that I have, in a sense, a portable pond. So I've made sure I put the stones from around the edge into the trough so that any frogs can get back out again. And I've added a fish tank filter to get some movement into the water to try and deter the mosquito larvae. Although I'm not sure if the water's moving enough for that. Coming up, we've got part 4 of my Eden Project series on the rainforest biome. The Eden Project first opened in a disused China clay quarry in 2001. It is a world-renowned experimental garden which has become a must-see attraction near St Austell in Cornwall. The rainforest biome houses plants from tropical Asia, Africa and South America. In parts 1 and 2, I took you through some of the plants that you can see here, and in this section we're going to be going through a few more. Garcinia cola, also known as bitter cola, is native to parts of Africa, growing in tropical or subtropical moist lowland forests. It's an evergreen tree with a heavy spreading crown, which can grow up to 30 metres tall, but more usually grows about 12 to 15 metres. It's often used in traditional medicine, however it is classed as vulnerable on the endangered species list. Hibiscus acetosella is also known as the cranberry hibiscus or the African rose mallow, but it's actually one of the varieties of hardy hibiscus which can be grown outdoors in cooler climates down to around -4 degrees. It has beautiful dark foliage and crimson to purple flowers, making it a striking variety. Costus is a genus of herbaceous perennial, widespread in tropical and subtropical regions of Asia, Africa, and the Americas. It's a variety of ginger, related to zingiber, which is often called the spiral ginger, due to its spiraling stems. Grown as a houseplant, they like bright but not direct sunlight, and moist but not wet soil. Gymnanthemum amygdalinum is also known as the bitter leaf and is native to South America, tropical Africa and Yemen. It's a small evergreen tree grown to around 10 metres tall and bears a very popular edible leaf in parts of Africa. It grows along rivers and lakes, and more mature plants may be somewhat hardy, dying back to ground level over winter. Theobroma cacao is also known as the cacao tree, a small evergreen tree famed for its cocoa beans, which are used to make chocolate. Native to South America, it has shiny, leathery leaves which start red and turn green. It prefers to grow in a humid greenhouse or a spot that will remain warm all day. Musa mkno watembo is a variety of plantain, which is a starchy, less sugary variety of banana, generally used in cooking. Plantain are not hardy varieties of banana, being killed at temperatures around -4 degrees. However, they can be grown in pots as houseplants. Clerodendron speciosissimum is a tropical shrub native to Indonesia and naturalised in Latin America, Africa and the Caribbean. It grows up to 4 metres tall and produces beautiful red heart-shaped flowers, which themselves can be up to 30 centimetres in length. Thunbergia erecta is commonly known as the bush clock vine or king's mantle. It's a vibrant evergreen shrub native to Africa, producing beautiful purple flowers, which have made it very popular plant for cultivation. This plant can thrive as a houseplant, but will need a lot of indirect bright light. Cagelia africana is also known as the sausage tree, due to the unusual sausage-like fruit that it produces. It's native to tropical Africa, where it grows in open woodland and by rivers and streams, as well as in floodplains. Its deep red flowers have an unpleasant smell, opening in the evening and only lasting for one night. Bilbergia pyramidalis is commonly known as the flame torch, due to its bright red flower. It's a species of bromeliad native to parts of South America. It grows best in shade or part shade and is somewhat drought tolerant. They won't survive hard frosts, but they can tolerate colder temperatures than many bromeliads, although plants will sustain damage, so it's best brought indoors for winter. Cyagrus romanzuffiana is a tall, tender palm tree known as the queen palm. Its long, arching fronds can grow up to 5 meters long, and the tree can grow to more than 12 meters in height. It will grow well in a conservatory or warm greenhouse in bright filtered light and with plenty of water in summer, reducing watering significantly in winter. Eugenia brasiliensis is better known as gramichima and is an evergreen shrub with dark, glossy leaves that can grow up to 15 meters tall, although often smaller. Native to Brazil, it's grown for its small, edible fruits or as an ornamental tree. It prefers a humid environment but can tolerate temperatures of -3 degrees for short periods. Euterpe oleracea is also known as the acai palm and is native to eastern Amazonia. It mainly grows in the swamps and floodplains of Brazil and is a slender palm that grows up to 25 meters tall. It grows best in moist, acidic, well-drained soil and partial shade, but is not tolerant of cold weather. Ochroma pyramidale is a fast-growing but short-lived deciduous or evergreen tree that grows up to 30 meters tall. Also known as the balsa tree, it's native to the Americas and has smooth grey-white bark and fruits are green capsules with cottony filaments. It prefers a sunny position and temperatures above 10 degrees C, with freezing killing the plant. Disapallium caryophyllaceum is an elegant tree native to the Amazon which grows up to 20 meters tall. Also known as the clovewood, it's used in the production of the essential oil, clove bark oil, as well as for medicinal and culinary purposes, but it's on the vulnerable species list. It grows naturally in forests that do not temporarily flood. Pachira aquatica is also known as the Guyana chestnut and is a tropical wetland plant native to Central and South America where it grows in swamps. Commercially, it can be sold under the name money tree or the money plant and is grown commonly as a houseplant where it grows well in warm, humid conditions such as a bathroom or kitchen. Dichorysandra thersiflora is also known as the blue ginger due to the blue-purple flowers, although it's not a relative of the ginger. It's native to North, Central and South America, and it thrives in a moist, shady spot that can be grown in the UK as a houseplant or outdoors as an annual with cuttings rooting easily for winter propagation. Terminalia amazonia is a species of tree native to Central and South America and commonly known as the white olive. It's fast-growing and can even reach heights of up to 50 meters in the swamps of Mexico. It grows well in swamps and prefers the environment, although it can grow in a range of soils, including sandy. Heliconia stricta is a stunning plant related to Strelitzia or bird of paradise. It's native to South America and makes a beautiful houseplant, as it's smaller than other Heliconia varieties. Its unusual, vibrant blooms bring a tropical feel to a house or garden, and it grows best with partial sun or a bright room. Aechmea fasciata is a bromeliad commonly called the silver vase or urn plant. It is native to Brazil and is slow-growing, reaching up to 90 centimeters in height. Outdoors, it prefers partial shade and is prone to root rot if soil gets too moist. You can place moss around the roots and attach it to rough bark with wire, but it will need to be brought indoors for winter. Psidium fredericksthalianum is also known as the Costa Rican guava and is commonly grown in Central American countries. It's a small evergreen tree, often branching near the ground and producing edible fruit, although it's more commonly grown as an ornamental plant. It grows best in a sunny position, but is easily injured by frost. Solandrum maxima is a flowering plant known as the cup of gold vine due to its beautiful yellow trumpet flowers which can grow up to 25 centimeters in length. It's a fast-growing climber which can grow up to 12 meters tall, although it can be pruned back to a shrub. It will grow well in a bright conservatory or outdoors in summer in full sun. Bruellia brevifolia is also called the tropical wild petunia and is native to parts of South America. It's a perennial shrub with evergreen leaves and beautiful red funnel-shaped flowers. It grows best with plenty of light, but does not like a lot of direct sunlight, which can scorch the leaves. Brunfelsia americana is also known as the Lady of the Night due to the amazing scent of its flowers at night time, which stops when the sun rises. It's native to tropical South America and is a fast-growing evergreen shrub with white or yellow flowers. It prefers partial shade and high humidity and can survive down to around 0 degrees C and can be grown indoors with bright light and regular misting. Anthurium andrianum is native to Colombia and Ecuador and is commonly known as the painter's palette or flamingo flower. It is a tender plant that can grow up to 60 centimeters in height and has stunning flowers in white, pink or red. It grows best indoors with bright indirect light and away from drafty areas. Philodendron subincissum is a beautiful climber that can reach 8 to 15 feet or even more. It has spectacular large foliage with leaves reaching around 1 meter in length to give a truly tropical feel. It's hardy down to around -1, however it can be grown in pots with good drainage. Alamander cathartica is commonly called golden trumpet and is native to Brazil. It's a climbing plant but can be pruned into a shrub. It grows best with full sun and rich soil and can be grown indoors over winter. However, if grown as a houseplant, it should get at least 4 hours of direct sunlight daily. Heliconia rostrata is often called the false bird of paradise and is native to the areas around Colombia, Peru and Ecuador. Grown for its stunning lobster claw flowers, it can be grown as a houseplant in the UK. However, it's not ideal due to the large size and limited flowering period. Brugmansia candida maya is commonly known as angel's trumpet and is a large perennial which can grow up to 2 meters tall with variegated foliage and apricot flowers. It can tolerate temperatures down to 3 degrees and should be overwintered indoors, preferably in a conservatory or heated greenhouse, although a garage or shed will protect the plant but it will lose the leaves. Philodendron giganteum is native to South America and the Caribbean and is similar to the subincissum shown earlier. Under the right conditions, leaves can grow very large. It prefers bright light and should be allowed to dry out between waterings. Alocasia amazonica is commonly known as polly and is native to the rainforests of Southeast Asia. It has striking dark green arrow-shaped foliage with an attractive pattern, making it a popular choice for a houseplant, although it is known to be fussy. It prefers bright, indirect light and a warm, humid environment with evenly moist soil. Coming up next, I recommend 5 tropical gardens that you can visit on the Isle of Wight. The Isle of Wight is an island situated on the south of England and benefits from some of the warmest weather in the country, making it an ideal place to grow tropical plants that might be more tender in other areas. Even just travelling around the island, you'll see many beautiful tropical plants in gardens and parks. But here are my top 5 places on the island that you can visit to see stunning tropical plants. At number 5 is Osborne House, which was Queen Victoria's favourite residence and she spent much of her life here. As well as being able to walk around the house and beautiful woodland walk to a private beach, there are beautiful formal gardens with a surprisingly large number of hardy and tender tropical plants incorporated into the scheme. Queen Victoria herself said it's impossible to imagine a prettier spot. The ornate terrace gardens were renovated in 2016 as part of a major conservation project and are listed as Grade 2 on the Register of Historic Parks and Gardens. The Prince Consort participated directly in laying out the estate, gardens and woodlands to prove his knowledge of forestry and landscaping, and the royal children were encouraged to garden. Each child was given a rectangular plot in which to grow fruits, vegetables and flowers. The Trachycarpus fortunei was planted by Queen Victoria in 1851. And the one you see here today is a direct descendant of that tree, planted by Queen Elizabeth II in 2004. At number 4 is Butterfly World. This may not be an obvious choice for plant enthusiasts, but the tropical glasshouse that is home to many beautiful species of butterflies also houses plenty of tropical plants. There is also a Japanese garden with koi pond and Italian Renaissance zone. There are many flowering varieties of tropical plants in the glasshouse, as the nectar feeds a large variety of the butterflies. As an all-indoor attraction, Butterfly World could be perfect on a rainy day, although be prepared in warmer weather as the glasshouse is very warm and humid. If the heat does get too much, however, there is a free return available within 7 days. This is also a lovely place to come if you've got children in tow. They can enjoy feeding the fish or watching the butterflies emerge from their chrysalis. There is also a lovely garden centre you can visit called Medina, who opened the butterfly attraction in 1983, making it the first butterfly farm opened by a garden centre in the UK, and only the 5th butterfly farm in the world. At number 3 is Amazon World. Another great attraction to visit with children, as it is first and foremost a zoo. However, it was first created when the owners obtained a large glasshouse, which was home to both tropical plants and bird species. From here, Amazon World grew into a leading attraction with many animals from the Amazon region and plays a massive part in conservation efforts, becoming a registered charity earlier this year. The zoo contributes to several international breeding programs, including ones for highly endangered species such as the Bali starling, a species that at one point had a mere 11 left in the wild. It has also had considerable success in breeding the two-toed sloth, a species that is notoriously difficult to breed in captivity. Amazon World also purchased land in South America through the World Land Trust to help conserve the South American natural habitat for the animals they house and care for. Today, the tropical glasshouse still houses plenty of lush green tropical plants native to the South American rainforests. And as you walk through the winding paths, it's not only plants that you can see. There's a beautiful pond filled with fish. You can see turtles and alligators. And of course, the birds flying through the branches of the trees gives it a real jungly feel. So although Amazon World isn't advertised as a garden, it is still a fantastic place to visit if you're interested in these plants. And number 2 is the Shanklin Chine. Chine is a local word used only on the Isle of Wight and in Dorset. It is of Saxon origin and means a deep, narrow ravine. It's formed by water cutting through soft sandstone leading to the sea. Shanklin Chine is a historic gorge full of natural beauty and is unique in the quality of its flora and fauna. It is a rich haven of rare plants, woodland, wildlife, and enchanting waterfalls. Starting in Shanklin Old Village, the Chine has a drop of 32 metres to the sandy beach at sea level in just over a quarter of a mile. Shanklin Chine covers an area of approximately 3 acres. The Chine was formed over the last 10,000 years. The stream is continually cutting its way back to the foot of the downs where it springs. In the latter half of the 19th century, stones were laid at the top of the waterfall to slow this progress. There are at least 150 varieties of wild plants, and more than 50 species of moss and liverworts have also been recorded so far, some of them extremely rare. Ferns, grasses, wild garlic, horsetails, golden saxifrage, wild fuchsias, winter-flowering heliotropes, to name but a few, all grow in abundance. By day, the Chine is stunning. However, if you visit in the evening, you'll be rewarded with the Chine Lumiere, when hundreds of lights illuminate the narrow paths, streams and waterfalls held within. Without doubt, this is the hidden gem in the island's crown jewels. And you don't have to wait until very late in the evening, even in the summer months, to enjoy the spectacular lights, as the position of the Chine means it loses its light much earlier than the village or the seafront. So if you're looking for a more wild, natural, jungly experience, then the Shanklin Chine will not disappoint. And finally, at number 1, we have the Ventnor Botanic Garden. Ventnor Botanic Garden is a unique UK garden situated in the microclimate of the Ventnor Undercliff, which makes this garden on average 5 degrees warmer all year than the rest of the Isle of Wight, and with only 28 inches of average rainfall. The garden rarely gets frost, and if it does, it clears up very quickly. Its climate is more like the Mediterranean, and this allows Ventnor Botanic Garden to grow many plants that would normally be considered too tender outdoors on the UK mainland. Ventnor is known as Britain's hottest garden. Visiting Ventnor is an absolute must for a plant enthusiast, with 22 acres of stunning gardens represented in different geographical regions. There is also an impressive collection of cacti and succulents, including huge spiky agaves and flowering aloes, as well as the national collection of puias, with over 17 different species. Mature palms thrive here, including several large Washingtonia robusta, which is rare to find at this size in the UK. Ventnor Botanic Garden has its own take on gardening with the Ventnor method, which allows plants to grow naturally where they sow, creating a more natural ecosystem. Leaves and branches are not cleared and weeds are allowed to grow, so while it may look a little more untidy than other gardens you visit, the natural cycle of nutrient recycling is beneficial to the plants, the soil, and the animal wildlife. There is also a tropical glasshouse for the more tender species that cannot be grown outdoors all year round, with a beautiful pond and waterfall which is a spectacular sight. Here you can see the giant Amazon water lily and the carnivorous Dutchman's pipe. There is a Japanese garden with a collection of bamboos and some large T-Rex tetrapanax plants. And in the Australian section you'll find tree ferns, bottle brushes and wollemi pines. So if you're planning to head to the Isle of Wight this summer, then make sure you don't miss a visit to this spectacular garden. Well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for watching and see you next time on Freya's Tropical Garden. If you're enjoying the content of Freya's Tropical Garden, then please help this channel grow by subscribing. Every new subscriber is appreciated, and by turning on notifications to my videos, you can also make sure that you don't miss any episodes in future. You can also follow me on social media, where I'll release links to my latest videos, as well as share my flower of the day. You can follow me on X, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, or join my Facebook group to engage in discussions and share your own photos. Freya's Tropical Garden webpage also has links to my videos and helpful advice. And now, in order to support the continued growth of this channel, there is an option of becoming a member, which will give you access to a private Facebook group where I'll be running monthly competitions exclusively for members, as well as additional exclusive content. And as always, I welcome your feedback in the comments below.